Delighted on behalf of everyone at Bristol City Football Club to introduce Dean Holden as our new head coach and his two assistants, Keith Downing to my right, Paul Simpson to my left, both joining us from the Football Association. A new era for the football club starts today. We are delighted again to announce Dean. So welcome and happy to take any questions.
Hi guys, thanks for coming along. I just wanted to say a couple of words before we, as Mark says, before we open it up. First of all, I'm absolutely delighted to be asked to be the next head coach of Bristol City Football Club. It's a huge honour. I'm very, very proud, as are my family, to be given this opportunity, and I'm going to make the most of it. I'm going to give everything I've got, as I've done in the 4 years I've been at this football club, to make us successful in this next chapter. And absolutely delighted that I've got Keith and Paul that have agreed to join me as my two assistants. And one thing I will say to our supporters is we're going to need them this season. I'm a football fan myself. I spent the early part of my life spending every penny I had, and maybe some money I didn't have as well, to travelling the country supporting the team that I supported, and them away days were some of the best memories of my life. So I'm a football fan myself. I know what they're going through during this period with COVID, and I'm sure they can't wait for the season to start, as we all can. So yeah, just wanted to say I'm over the moon, and I'm really grateful for the board of directors giving me this opportunity. And it's all right getting the opportunity, you've got to take it, and I'm going to do that. Yeah, you've nailed it, Gary. I'm very excited. I'm very proud, and just can't wait to get started. The lads are back in tomorrow morning for the first time, so can't wait to meet them and the staff and get to work. And I know the Championship. I've been an assistant, I think, for 200 games, maybe near that. That's funny, in football I've been in the industry for 25 years now, and I'm classed as a young coach. So I understand the industry, I understand football. I've worked with some great people in my career, from Sam Allardyce at the very beginning to Dean Smith at the very end, and then 4 years under Lee. So I've learnt a lot along the way. Somebody that's always looking to learn from different sports and different people, and never think you know all the answers. And as I say, I'm my own man. I'm ready for this opportunity and can't wait to get started.
And you're thinking behind the bringing in of the two lads on the end, working together, bouncing off each other, learning from each other? Yeah,
they've first and foremost two fantastic coaches, and great experience of the game, fantastic knowledge of players, some of the best players in the country from their recent success with the FA. And prior to that, they were obviously in first team football too, so they've got real good ideas. As soon as I met the two of them, I was excited about trying to bring them on this journey with me and the supporters to try and bring success, and delighted that they've both agreed to join us. And I think it's a testament to the football club that they've both agreed to leave great jobs at the FA. I know they've had other offers to leave in recent times, and it's a great coup for this football club.
Kind of sitting a bit nearer to you, what has he told you that he wants you to achieve here?
Our aim is to challenge for promotion. This football club, you can see the surroundings that we've got. There's a world-class training facility on the way in the spring, and we've got a very, very good group of players who I know well, and just as important, a fantastic staff behind the scenes as well. And as I said, couple that together with a fantastic, passionate fan base. It's an exciting time for this football club. Thank you, Gary.
Dean, can you tell us what the last 7 days have been like for you, and particularly the weekend? You must have known or had an inkling. What's it been like for you personally?
It's been fantastic, I have to say. The 2 weeks I stepped into the breach at the end of the season, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I realised at that point that I was ready for this. And just pure excitement, Gregor, to be honest with you. I love working for this football club. Grown to love the city after 4 years of being here, and as I said, really excited.
How did you find the interview process? Mark said that it was going to be a rigorous interview process. Can you tell us a little bit about that at all?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know what, Gregor? I'm so happy that the club have gone out and spent this period of time speaking to people, casting the net out wide, because I was under the nose from the very beginning, and it was important that they didn't rush into a decision. I said at the end of last season after the Preston game that this club's gearing up for promotion, and I'm cool with that. I'm cool with the club going speaking to these people, and ultimately they've come together and decided that I'm the man to lead them forward, and that's hugely exciting, I've got to say.
I know how football works. Did you speak to anyone for advice at all? Maybe, I don't know, former Bristol City managers, say Lee even, or anyone?
Yeah, I've spoken to loads of people. The phone's not stopped with people, well-wishers, sending messages even today as the news has broke about the 2 assistants that have agreed to join. There's lots of people I've spoke to which I do anyway, Gregor, to be honest, with people in football. I speak to people in other sports, as I say, to get a different insight. And, you know, it's a risk to take the role of the head coach as an assistant because it's quite a cushy number. And there's been other opportunities to sort of move on to different clubs. But I just felt, in that 2-week period, I felt I'm ready for this. And of course, you've got huge self-belief, but till you step into an experience you don't quite know. And that was a great experience, them 2 weeks. I think the performance at Middlesbrough, towards the end, certainly the first half, was a performance that I can relate to as a coach. That's what we want to see from our team this season. Finding different ways to win is hugely important as well. So, just very excited.
You obviously follow Lee Johnson on. Do you recognise where Lee went wrong? Because obviously he's lost his job before you took over. Where does the team need to improve? What do you need to do differently?
There's been lots of success certainly in the 4 years, or near 4 years I've been at the club with Lee. This club's been on a brilliant journey. We started the season really well last season and didn't end it as well as we would have liked, and ultimately that was why Lee lost his job. But he's a fantastic young coach who will come again, I've got no doubt about that. We've got to get a consistent run of results together throughout the course of a 46-game championship slog, which is what it is. And as I say, between the 3 of us, we've got huge experience of the championship, and ultimately it's about pulling together a group of people. It's the players, our staff and our supporters, and galvanising everybody to go on a journey together to get success. And you can't do it if you're not all together, and that'll be the main focus.
You've got 2 good assistants alongside you here. I believe you've lost Jamie McAllister. Can you just explain why you brought these 2 guys in? And again, I know you did discuss it. Was that your decision or was that a club decision? No,
that was my decision. As I say, when I met the 2 guys, obviously I played under Paul 8-9 years ago, I think it was. Really enjoyed his management style and his coaching style, and got to know Keith really from the sort of football's a small village, and you know you're up and down to St George's Park for these master classes that certain ex-managers and stuff put on, and you get to know people and you talk to people, and some great things coming back. And when I met the 2 of them, I just felt this is what I need around me to give me, you know, there's no point in bringing people in that are exactly the same as me. That would never work. You've got to get people around you who are good at what you're not so good at, and you've got to get the right balance. And the 2 guys that certainly will give me their opinion, that's important. It's not like I brought a mate of mine in who's just going to agree with everything I say. I think it's important you've got 2 strong characters who are prepared to give their opinion. As I said before, Greg, fantastic coaches, and that's what football's about. It's about developing our younger players, which this club has done very well from the academy, and putting a team out on a weekend which goes and has a right goal against every opposition. And that's the one thing I can promise, is that we'll go into every game aiming to win. We won't go into any game fearing not to lose, and there's a big difference there, I feel. And we'll get the team set up in a way which suits the players that we've got, and we'll go and have a right goal this season.
Is it fair to assume part of your remit is to develop players as well as get results?
Since I joined the club nearly 4 years ago, that's part of the philosophy of this football club, and something that this club has done very well. There's a very strong academy, which again not a lot of clubs have got, and I think people sometimes underestimate that. And we've had some great success in recent times of our academy players coming through. And of course developing players is a huge part of it, but we're here to win games as well, and you've got to get the right balance.
In the last year, 18 months, we've seen the club sell some of its best players and trade, as the club has said. How big a challenge is it to get results if you're going to carry on selling the best players, maybe bringing others in?
The job of a football manager is to get a team on the pitch that knows exactly what they're doing, they feel organised, and they know exactly what you want from them. And you know, as I said before, we've got some really good, exciting players at this football club, and I know the 2 guys, Keith and Paul, can't wait to work with them. They've worked with a couple of them before, I think Jay De Silva, for example. So that's the challenge, and to be a football manager, you've got to have, or a head coach, you've got to have a thick skin, and you know, you don't go through some of the things I've been through in my life without developing a thick skin along the way. So, no, more than ready for it and can't wait.
Some of the social media reaction from fans has been quite negative because they perceive you as an inexperienced coach. This is your first proper job at championship level. Do you recognise that? What do you say about it?
I'm so happy I'm joining a football, as a head coach joining a football club that's got as passionate fan base as we've got. I can relate to that as a kid from Manchester, you know, from a big city. And some of the clubs I've been at before, and I won't say which clubs, it's great support, but this is different. This feels different. The Bristol City supporters rely on the club being successful to give them enjoyment in their life. That's how much it means to them. And I can relate to that. And my job as a head coach is and our job as a group of staff is to put a team on the pitch that they can relate to, that they've got pride in. And when they see them play every week, every supporter wants to, most supporters I know want to be a professional footballer. And when they look at the team on the pitch and they come out of that tunnel, either here at Ashton Gate or wherever we travel on them away days this season, they want to see a team that's going out and giving absolutely everything they've got. And we'll make sure that that's what they get.
Just finally, for you.
Now Ash is out of contract, of course, at the moment. We've been speaking to him recently, and we'll continue those discussions as we move that forward to see exactly how we're going to do that. I've spoke to Corey at length in the last couple of days, and I know he's got an opportunity to move on. There wasn't a contract forthcoming for him at the moment in time, and you know he's got a young family. And what I would say is he's been a fantastic servant to this football club, and deserves a fantastic send-off, because on and off the pitch, and everybody's seen what he brought to the team on the pitch, of course, with his goal against Man United probably being the pinnacle, but fighting back through bad injuries and always coming in and pushing the younger players. And that's what you get from some of the seniors that we've got at the club. They're pushing them younger players and helping them and using their experience along the way. So, fantastic person, got a lot of time for, and really wish him well.
Just finally, will you have much money to spend in the transfer market? It's what the fans always want to know.
We're going to sit down as a staff and go through that. We'll see what players are available. Players come on the market. We'll see if we can have an opportunity of getting them. And I think first and foremost we've got to have a look at our squad. And you know, we've had some great loans last year for some of our players that have gone out and had real success. So we need to see where they're at in pre-season. And yeah, we do need a couple of additions, and I feel that we're going to be strong.
How tough is that going to be if, as I was asking Dean, the club is selling its best players often?
Challenging for promotion is definitely the aim. I think each year we've progressed, other than last year, which again ultimately cost Lee's job. But I think on and off the pitch, each year we aim to progress, and we 100% have a target to be challenging for promotion this season. And I think that's more than achievable.
A major criticism from fans, Mark, is the time it's taken for this appointment. I think a lot of them have said that if Dean had been appointed after week one, they would have readily accepted that. But to take 6 weeks, it's maybe a tougher pill to swallow. What would you say to that criticism?
I'd say the season only finished 3 weeks ago, and we've run a robust process. I said that from day one, and we went into this really open-minded. And we forced ourselves to do that. We had candidates apply for the job from wide-ranging clubs, from the UK, from overseas, from the Championship, from League One. And we went through a genuine, rigorous process. We whittled that down to around 10, where we had detailed conversations with those 10. We then took that 10 down to 4, and Jon and I together rigorously interviewed those 4. And right through that process, what came to the forefront was that Dean Holden was the right person for this football club. So I can understand from a fan's perspective why they may think it's taken so long, and I respect that and I understand it. But we went into this open-minded, and the club doesn't suffer from that, because let's be really clear, there's a robust machine that sits behind whoever is the head coach here, whether that's in recruitment, whether that's in analysis, whether that's in performance, whether that's in facilities and operations at the training ground. All that's continued, all that's moved on. The players we've been in touch with on a regular basis, they've had a short break. So the club is in a really, really good state. But Jon and I and the board wanted to make sure we went through this process properly, and we've come to what we believe is the right conclusion with the right person for this football club.
To both of you, what was the most important things then during the rigorous interviews that you conducted?
I think you look at two things. The first and foremost, you look at the human, and you look at the type of person you're bringing or potentially bringing into the football club, because we have a really good culture here, and in fairness to Lee was a major part in building that culture. There's a togetherness with the players, there's a togetherness with the staff. We don't have any bad eggs, so to speak, in this club. So the human who would come in and work with the staff, work with our players, and help develop, win games, and take this club towards promotion was absolutely key. On the other hand, you look at the technical ability of the individual that you're interviewing. That's the coaching ability, that's their ability to communicate, their ability to lead, their ability to coach, their ability to develop players. There are a raft of things that you look at from a technical perspective, and then you attempt to put the two together. What I can promise you, Greg, this has been a really detailed, rigorous process, and out of that, again, I repeat, has come the best person that we believe is for this job.
I believe you've said, Mark, already, this is a great job to manage this football club. Why have you not appointed a more experienced coach? Because with the applicants you probably had, you probably could have got someone who's maybe got promotion from the Championship on their CV. You've gone for somebody who hasn't got any experience hardly in the Championship. Can you explain that for fans?
Again, you have to put together the entire package, and when you look at Dean Holden is a human being that first of all has some outstanding qualities that resonate with both Jon, myself and the board. And from a human perspective, he's very well respected. He's his own man, be under no illusions of that. And we believe he has the technical ability. The one thing that you couldn't give him is the experience. So what the club has done, or he has done in fairness to him, is when part of his interview process was made it very clear that he wanted to bring in that experience around him. You've got two very experienced coaches, both in their mid-50s, that have joined us. Keith has twice been promoted, once with West Brom, once with Wolverhampton Wanderers. So he wanted to put that team around him to ensure that we had got more people in the organisation that had the experience of getting clubs across the line. And when you put all that together, and I can understand why people would ask that question, but he was genuinely the right fit, and again, the right person for this club.
Jon, if I could ask you, Steve said in a TalkSport radio that he was looking for someone to maybe bring in a breath of fresh air into the football club. Yet you've appointed Lee's right-hand man. Can you explain that a little bit further?
Yeah, and I think to touch on it, Mark's already said, Dean's very much his own person. He's got his own ideas. I think you've seen a lot of that would have come across. He's not really had, he's had a small cameo at the end of the season where he hasn't really had a chance to get the team on the grass to train in between because the fixture's so compact. So, you haven't necessarily seen that come through, but, it's still a fresh voice. And I think the other point that Mark alluded to is we started with a very open process. And yeah, one of the qualities you're looking for is experience. So you can definitely throw that back at us, saying, okay, well, you've chosen someone without experience. But I think that was key, really. That he came to us with the idea that if it was him, this was what his team needed to look like, and that helped provide the experience alongside it. So, it's the same with any interview. You're looking at balancing up. These are the criteria that we're looking for, and you judge them against each other. And this process is no different. But it's it's really important, and we believe we've got the right person.
Okay, I've got one for Mark now. But if he's got to shoot off and come back, or just wanted to ask, the fans have seen Corey Smith leave, the likes of George Nurse go out on loan. How are those decisions being made if there's not a head coach in place?
The younger group, which is headed by, if you like, Brian Tinian, continues to move forward. We have recruitment meetings, recruitment process which runs. The head coach is normally right in the middle of that. I've said this time and time again, and it'll be exactly for the same for Dean. No player joins this football club at senior level without the head coach approving it. It just does not happen, and it will not happen under our tenure. We don't work like that. But when it comes down to the younger age groups, the George Nurses, where the collective believe that actually they're probably not going to be close enough to the first team for next season, then Brian leads that and comes to us with the group, and we makes recommendations on the younger boys and their development going out on loan. We've had numerous offers for others of our youngsters to go out on loan right now, and we've held it because Dean wants to have a look. Corey Smith was a discussion with Dean, and then the decision was made on the back of that, so he was involved 100% in that conversation.
Okay, thanks. I've got a question for John, but do you want to let Mark? Yeah. John, for some of the older fans, you might be in a good position to answer on this. They will say that the club has been down this route of appointing internal candidates several times. Jimmy Lumsden, Joe Jordan, Brian Tinian, Keith Millen, and in their argument it hasn't worked, and the club shouldn't have gone that route again. What do you say to that?
I think the club's in a completely different position this time. I mean, look, any appointment you make, there's an element of risk too. But if you look at the collective of the club now, as you know, Mark's talked about the recruitment, the backroom staff. You know, it's a collective, it's a team. Now, your head coach is your pinnacle of that. He's your leader of that. He's your front man. So that's vitally takes up that mantle. He's in charge, but the rest of it works behind the scenes. So it's not like you know. The infrastructure here is massively different now to those times. So if you're an experienced person and you've got, you know, one or two people around you, there's a lot to take on there. But this is a bigger vehicle now in that sense. There's a lot more support. There's a lot better setup everywhere else where it functions really well, whoever comes in and does the head coach role. So I mean, really is a completely different scenario. You know, it's somebody in theory, in terms of experience, coming in from the same position, but the club is in a completely different circumstance now, where you know there's much more chance of someone coming in and succeeding.
Was anybody else offered the job other than Dean? Was he your first choice?
No one else was offered. We've offered the job to one person, and they've accepted.
Can you say anything in terms of transfer policy? How is recruitment made at the club, and how will you look to conduct things moving forward?
I mean, you've got Mark's the best person to talk about this because he sits at the centre of it. But the recruitment works as you've got analysts. You've got the traditional scouting. You've got your technical and statistical, and he centres that and joins it together. So it's not one lead person, and then obviously your head coach forms part of that process. So it's about setting what does a Bristol City player look like in this position, and then your team of analysts will go out and identify people that fit that criteria that are best for potential recruits, and it goes through that process. It's constant, it's all the time, it's multi-layered, and people are brought in and out of that when they need to be. So when it comes to a position where we need to recruit in this, the question always comes in, right, who does that block further down the system? Because again, we want to bring people through from the academy when they're ready and good enough as well. So that's always part of it, but it makes logical sense, and also there's enough to do as a head coach or anyone else in that position without having to worry wholly on that and relying on agents or anything else. So that's how we identify players, and then you make your first choices and see what you can get.
Are you, Steve, or Doug, or Mark involved in any of that process at all? Do you join any of those meetings at all?
Not really. I mean, as and when you're involved in the conversation because you're interested and you're here, but it's not for us to. It's for people to tell us things when they want, or this is the new way we're doing something. This is another way. This is what someone else has brought in, to understand how we do it and why we do it. But it's not for us to stick our nose in, essentially.
You must have seen some of the social media reaction yourself. I see you tagged in a lot of stuff. How have you found that on a personal level?
Look, it's football. It's a very difficult time as well. I mean, we're sat in a stadium where you want thousands of people to be here, and we can't, we've got to sit 10 metres apart. So it's, guys haven't been here since March. It's tough, whatever circumstance we've got at home. We haven't had a change in manager for a long time. There'll be an element of expectancy built up. People are looking for hope all the time. So, if it's not what you expected, I totally understand. It's, summer's a difficult time in football that way anyway. So you've always got that quiet void to fill, and it's harder at this point because of the global circumstance. So I totally respect it. And as Dean says, it's great to have a passionate fan base. All I know is that we have a decent set of fans. They're very passionate, but they're also reasonable. And look, you're going to be judged on your results. So he's going to get the chance to kick some footballs first, and we'll be judged on that. We genuinely think it's the best appointment for the football club, and hopefully that plays out.
Realistically, what do you think can be achieved this season?
We can challenge for promotion. We've last 4 or 5 years we've had constant progress, and that's what we look for. We set out, this is what we look at like as a football club. This is what we believe in. This is how we're going to try and improve year on year. We're going to get better at that, get better at that, get better at that, and eventually that's going to get you where you want to go. I don't think we do anything irrational in that sense. I think we're consistent. I think we're seen as that as a football club. Last year's the first year we've had a blip in that, if we're being honest, and Lee's unfortunately paid the price for that. So I believe we had a squad last year that should have challenged for the top 6, and I think going into next year there's no reason to think we can't be in that bracket again. So we want to be at the right end of the table challenging for promotion.
Last question from me, and I'm not being deliberately contrary here, but a criticism that is labelled a lot is that with this appointment of Dean, it is a case of jobs for the boys, that cliched term. What would you say to that criticism?
I mean, he happens to be at the club before we're appointing him, but it's not jobs for the boys in that sense. There's no benefit to us giving him the job for any other reason than we think he's best for it. I mean, if I want to put other questions in your mouth, you can say, why are you taking the cheap option, which is the other one you see thrown out there a lot. And the reality is there isn't a cheap option, because if you fail, it's not a cheap option. You've got to be out there picking what you think is best for the football club at the time, and that is genuinely what we believe. So you can't. Not everyone's going to agree with you, and hopefully the proof will come in the results and the performance next year. But until we've got that, there's not a lot else I can say to that, Greg.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.